My fiancé said my concerns were making him paranoid, and my sister said I needed serious help. Turns out they were both right. Just not how I thought. It feels weird writing this all out. Like putting pieces of a shattered mirror back together, except each piece cuts you a little more. I used to think I had it all figured out. Stable job I mostly liked, a small but cozy apartment I was finally making my own, and Daniel. God, Daniel, we'd been together for 5 years, practically living together for 4. We talked about the future like it was already a done deal, house with a backyard for a dog we'd probably never get, maybe 2 kids eventually, quiet weekends, loud holidays with family. It wasn't a whirlwind romance, not the kind you see in movies, but it felt real. Safe, like coming home, we just fit. He was steady, grounded. I was the one prone to overthinking, to worrying about hypotheticals. It was my anchor. He'd laugh at my anxieties, pull me in for a hug, and tell me everything was okay. And with him, it usually was. My family loved him. My parents practically adopted him, always inviting him for dinner, asking about his work, his family. Even my younger sister, Clara, who was notoriously hard to impress and even harder to get along with sometimes, seemed to genuinely like Daniel. They had this easy camaraderie, always joking, sharing memes, tagging each other in stupid online quizzes. I thought it was sweet. A sign that my world was blending seamlessly. We were talking engagement seriously. Ring shopping had happened, though he was annoyingly secretive about the specifics. He'd drop hints, tease me. It was exciting. We just started looking at houses, just casually online mostly, but the thought of a shared mortgage, a shared future, felt incredibly solid. It was the next step, the big one, and I was ready. Happy. Content. Maybe a little too content in hindsight. Maybe I settled into the comfort so much that I missed the subtle cracks forming beneath the surface. I was living in the finished painting, admiring the brushstrokes, completely oblivious to the canvas fraying at the edges. My relationship with Clara was complex. She's 7 years younger, and growing up, I was always the responsible older sister, the one who got good grades, followed the rules, helped out. Clara was the wild child, the rebel, constantly pushing boundaries. There was a period in her late teens where we barely spoke, all eye rolls and slammed doors. We'd gotten better in recent years, settled into a truce. We weren't braiding each other's hair and sharing secrets, but we could have a civil dinner, laugh at family gatherings, exchange texts about mom's questionable fashion choices. I thought we were finally building a real adult-sister relationship. There was still that underlying tension, though. A faint echo of resentment from her side, maybe? Like she felt I judged her, even when I wasn't. Or maybe that was just my own guilt from years of trying to parent her when I wasn't the parent. It's hard to say. Family dynamics are messy, right? A tangled ball of yarn you can never quite untangle. But I never in a million years thought it would lead to this. Looking back, the shift started subtly, probably around 6 months before everything imploded. Daniel started working later, a lot later. At first, it was understandable. Big project at his firm, deadlines, blah blah. I'd bring him dinner sometimes late at the office. He'd seem stressed, tired, but grateful. Then it became more frequent. He'd come home after I was already in bed. He'd be distant, glued to his phone, jumpy when a notification came through. I'd ask about his day, and he'd give me vague answers, just shrugs and same old. He stopped initiating intimacy. He stopped planning our weekend dates. He was physically there, but mentally, he was miles away. I tried to tell myself it was the stress of the job, the house hunting adding pressure, the natural ebb and flow of a long-term relationship. But a knot started forming in my stomach. A cold, heavy dread. I tried talking to him. Softly at first. Hey, everything okay? You seem a bit distant lately. He'd get defensive immediately. I'm just tired. Why are you always reading into things? Or he'd flip it on me. Are you okay? You seem paranoid. Paranoid. That word stuck. It felt like a dismissal, a way to shut down my feelings without addressing them. I started questioning myself. Was I being needy? Was I imagining things? Was I suffocating him? The more I worried, the more withdrawn he became. It was a vicious cycle. My anxiety fed his distance fed my anxiety. I felt like I was losing him, piece by piece, and I had no idea how to stop it. Around the same time, Clara started acting strange too. She'd text me asking weirdly specific questions about Daniel's schedule. Is Daniel working late tonight? Is Daniel going to Dad's birthday dinner? At first, I just thought she was being friendly, maybe trying to coordinate something. Then her questions became more loaded. She'd make comments that felt off. Daniel looked really stressed last time I saw him. You should probably give him space. Or, he seems happier lately. Did you guys do something nice? Her tone was usually neutral, almost casual, but it felt like she was probing, digging for information. When I mentioned my worries about Daniel's distance to her, she was immediately dismissive. Oh God, relax, she'd say, sometimes with a laugh that felt a little too loud. He's probably just busy. You're making a mountain out of a molehill. Honestly, you need serious help if you think something's wrong just because he's working. She used that phrase, serious help. It stung. It felt like she was aligning herself with Daniel, validating his paranoid accusation, making me feel like I was losing my mind. I started confiding in her less, which was ironic, because I needed someone to talk to more than ever. But her reaction just amplified my self-doubt. Maybe they were right. Maybe I was paranoid. Maybe I was the problem, but the knot in my stomach refused to loosen. Strange texts, the late nights that didn't add up. One night he said he was working until 10. But his office building security log, which I found a way to check through a friend who worked nearby, showed him leaving at 7. The hushed phone calls he'd take in the other room, his sudden obsession with keeping his phone locked and always face down. It all piled up, a mountain of tiny, unsettling clues. I tried to shake it off to trust him, to trust Clara. But the feeling persisted, a cold, creeping dread that something fundamental was wrong. I felt like I was standing on thin ice and I could hear it cracking. I just didn't know where or how deep the water was beneath. The breaking point came on a Tuesday night. Daniel had said he was going to his work friend's place for a few hours after work, something about a team building thing. My gut twisted, but I nodded, feigned a smile. Okay, have fun. Don't stay out too late, as if my asking would change anything. He kissed my forehead, grabbed his keys, and left. The second the door closed, the silence in the apartment felt deafening. I sat on the couch, the knot in my stomach pulled so tight I felt nauseous. I couldn't shake the feeling that he was lying. I just couldn't. My heart was pounding. My hands were shaking. I felt like I was on the verge of a panic attack. I knew I shouldn't. I knew it was a violation of trust. But the paranoid voice Clara and Daniel had planted in my head suddenly screamed the opposite. You have to know. You're not crazy, prove it. His laptop was on the kitchen counter. He rarely brought it home, usually leaving it at work. Another small, odd detail I dismissed. My fingers hovered over the keyboard. My reflection in the dark screen looked like a stranger, pale, wide-eyed, desperate. I took a deep breath and opened it. It wasn't password protected, which was another tiny prick of oddness. He was usually so careful. My hands trembled as I navigated through his files. Work documents, photos of us, old college essays. Nothing. Then I saw his messaging app open in a minimized window. My blood ran cold. I clicked it. The most recent conversation was with Clara, my sister. The name itself felt like a physical blow. My eyes scanned the messages, and the world tilted on its axis. They weren't talking about family dinner or memes. They were talking about meeting up, about where to go, about how much longer they could keep this up, about how guilty Daniel felt, but also. The messages were coded, careful, but the meaning was unmistakable. My stomach lurched. I scrolled back further. Weeks of messages, plans, pet names I'd never heard him use. Photos of them together, sitting on a park bench holding hands. A selfie in a restaurant I recognized near his office. A picture of my sister wearing my favorite scarf, the one Daniel had given me for my birthday last year. My breath caught in my throat. The air felt thin. I couldn't breathe. The final message, the one that sent me over the edge, was from Clara. Dated that afternoon. See you later tonight. He's already left. Followed by a heart emoji. He hadn't gone to a work friend's. He'd gone to her. My sister, my little sister, my anchor, my safe harbor. They weren't just friendly. They were together. They had been, for God knows how long. The text message from Clara asking if he was working late that evening flashed in my mind. She wasn't asking me. She was confirming with him, confirming I was out of the way, confirming I was oblivious, confirming I was the paranoid one who needed serious help. They had been lying to my face. Both of them, for months, maybe longer. The messages confirmed it. Casual references to places they'd been, things they'd done, things I thought Daniel was doing alone or with work friends. He wasn't working late. He was with her. When he was distant, he wasn't stressed about work. He was stressed about hiding this. When Clara told me I was crazy for worrying, she wasn't trying to reassure me. She was actively participating in the lie. She was protecting him, protecting them from me. The betrayal hit me in waves. First, pure, unadulterated shock. Then a burning, acidic rage. Then a profound, bone-deep sorrow. My hands were shaking so hard I could barely hold the laptop. Tears streamed down my face, hot and silent at first, then racking sobs that shook my whole body. I felt physically ill, like someone had punched me in the gut and stolen all the air. My fiancé, my sister, together. The two people I trusted most in the world. They had built a relationship on lies, right under my nose. Using my trust, my love, my own home as their cover. Every moment of doubt, every conversation where they dismissed my concerns, every time they looked at each other and shared some private joke. It all flooded back, twisted and grotesque. I wasn't paranoid. I wasn't crazy. I was right. And being right had never felt so utterly devastating. I don't remember much of the next few hours clearly. It's a blur of pain and adrenaline. I remember stumbling to my bedroom, pulling a suitcase from the closet. Just packing blindly, grabbing whatever I could, clothes, toiletries, my laptop. I needed to get out. I couldn't be there when he came back. I couldn't face him or her. Not yet, not like this. My hands were still shaking. My vision was blurred with tears. I texted my best friend Liam, not Liam, just my friend, a messy, incoherent stream of consciousness about needing a place to stay now, no questions asked. He responded instantly, bless him. Doors unlocked. Come. I scribbled a note for Daniel, just 3 words, I know everything. I left it on his pillow. I couldn't bring myself to write anything more. What was there to say? The evidence was there. The lie was exposed. There was nothing left but the ruins. I dragged my suitcase out of the apartment, the sound echoing in the hallway. It felt like I was leaving behind my entire life. 5 years. Poof. Gone. Erased by a handful of text messages and a picture on a laptop screen. The drive to Liam's place was a haze. I remember the streetlights blurring through the tears, the radio playing some upbeat song that felt like a cruel joke. I pulled up to his apartment building, barely able to park. He was waiting at the door, his face etched with concern. I just collapsed into him, sobbing uncontrollably. I couldn't even speak. He just held me tight, letting me cry until there were no tears left, only dry, ragged gasps. I spent the night on his couch, staring at the ceiling, my mind replaying the messages, the photos, the lies, the dismissal of my concerns. Every interaction with Daniel, with Clara, over the past few months felt tainted, a performance I hadn't known was happening. They were actors in a play where I was the unsuspecting audience, applauding their performance while they laughed at me behind the curtain. It was cruel. It was beyond cruel. The next day was a blur of numbness and shock. My phone was blowing up. Missed calls from Daniel, dozens of them. Texts pleading, begging, demanding to know what I meant by the note. Calls and texts from Clara too, asking if I was okay if I was with Liam. How did she know I went to Liam's? If something had happened, the audacity, the sheer, breathtaking audacity. I ignored them all. I just couldn't. Liam made me tea, brought me food I couldn't eat, sat with me in silence. He didn't push, just let me exist in my pain. He's a good friend, a rare one. Late that afternoon, I finally got a text from Daniel that broke through the numbness. Not begging, but angry, accusatory. I know you went through my laptop. That was a violation. How could you? My stomach churned. He wasn't asking about the betrayal. He was focused on how I found out, how I had wronged him. It solidified everything. There was no remorse, no apology for the lie, for the cheating, for the double betrayal. Just anger that I had discovered the truth. I typed back one sentence, the words cold and hard. We're done. And then I blocked his number. Blocking Clara's number felt even harder, like cutting off a limb, but I did it. I couldn't have them in my life, not after this. The silence from them was deafening, but preferable to the lies. The following weeks and months were the hardest of my life. I stayed at Liam's for a while, then found a tiny studio apartment on the other side of town. Starting over felt impossible. Everything reminded me of Daniel, of our plans, of the future I'd lost. Simple things, like seeing a couple holding hands, or passing a restaurant we liked, or hearing a song that used to be ours, would send me spiraling into a fresh wave of grief. And the family dynamic. That was a whole other level of pain. My parents were caught in the middle, confused and heartbroken. I didn't know the full extent of it at first, just that Daniel and I were over and that Clara was somehow involved. When I finally told them everything, showed them the screenshots, yes, I'd taken screenshots before I left, they were devastated. My mom cried. My dad was quiet, his face grim. They were horrified by Daniel's actions, but even more so by Clara's. Their reaction was a mix of shock, disappointment, and confusion. How could their daughter do this? To her own sister? It wasn't just my relationship that had been destroyed. It felt like the family unit itself was fracturing. My parents tried to mediate. They wanted us to talk, to work things out. Clara sent me a long, rambling email, not an apology exactly, but a justification. She talked about feeling lonely, about Daniel being unhappy, about how it just happened. She claimed it wasn't intentional, that they never meant to hurt me. It read like a pathetic excuse, a desperate attempt to absolve herself of blame. She even tried to twist it, implying that maybe my relationship with Daniel wasn't as strong as I thought, that maybe he was looking for something I wasn't giving him. It was infuriating, an attempt to make me responsible for their betrayal. I didn't respond. I couldn't forgive it. Not the affair, not the lies, but the specific cruelty of her involvement, of her watching me suffer and telling me I was imagining it. That felt unforgivable. It's been over a year now. The sharp edges of the pain have dulled, but the scars are deep. I'm slowly rebuilding my life. I have a new apartment that feels like mine, not ours. I focused on my job, reconnected with friends I'd lost touch with. Dating feels impossible right now. The idea of trusting someone that completely again, of letting myself be vulnerable, feels terrifying. Every potential red flag feels like a giant, flashing neon sign. Every moment of distance or secrecy feels like history repeating itself. The paranoia they accused me of having, it's real now. Direct result of their actions. My relationship with my parents is strained. They still see Clara, of course. She's their daughter. They tell me she's struggling, that she regrets it. I nod, I listen, but I can't bring myself to reach out. The betrayal cut too deep. It wasn't just about a boyfriend. It was about the fundamental bond of family, of sisterhood. She didn't just betray me. She violated that trust in the cruelest way imaginable. I see them sometimes at family gatherings, sparse and awkward now. She tries to catch my eye, sometimes offers a tentative smile. I look away. I don't know if I'll ever be able to talk to her again. Part of me misses the idea of having a sister, even our flawed version of it. But the other part, the hurt part, can't see past what she did. And maybe she's right. Maybe she felt overshadowed, maybe she resented me, maybe she finally found a way to hurt me back. Does understanding a potential motive make it any less painful? Any less wrong? Daniel tried contacting me a few times through different numbers, different emails. Always variations of we need to talk, or I made a mistake. I never responded. I heard through a mutual friend that he and Clara didn't last long after I left. Apparently, building a relationship on deception isn't a solid foundation. Go figure. I didn't feel triumphant. Just empty. Their shared misery didn't erase mine. It didn't magically fix what they broke. I'm still working through it. Therapy helps sometimes. Talking about it helps sometimes. Writing this all out. It feels like scraping a wound, but maybe necessary to let it heal properly. I used to think love was enough, that trust was a given. Now I know it's fragile, easily broken, and sometimes the people you think would never hurt you are the ones who wound you the deepest. I don't know what the future holds. I don't know if I'll ever trust anyone completely again. I don't know if I'll ever truly forgive my sister. I don't know if I'll ever stop flinching every time I hear a phone notification late at night. There's no neat ending here, no tidy resolution. Just the messy, painful process of trying to put myself back together, one broken piece at a time, in a world that feels fundamentally less safe, less predictable, and a lot more lonely than it used to.